Well, hello and welcome to this edition of the EV Revolution Show. My name is Kenneth Bokor, here for episode 36 of the show. Let me get right into a few stories that I'm following for you today, and thank you for taking the time to watch the show. Quick update here from Canada. If you're not aware, we have a federal or national election happening this year. It'll be in the fall of this year, so our current government has come out with the budget for this fiscal year or this calendar year, and within the budget proposition is investing in the future of transportation, as they call it, specifically EVs. So our national government, our Liberal Party, the federal government has propositioned a new budget, and within that budget it has a few things related to electric vehicles. One of them is the bringing back of an incentive amount, a rebate incentive up to $5,000 Canadian. It's going to be part of a $300 million fund that'll be laid out over 3 years. And this is for the purchase of an electric vehicle, full battery electric, or it doesn't say plug-in hybrid, so we're waiting to get confirmation on that. But electric battery or hydrogen fuel cell vehicles with a manufacturer's suggested retail price of $45,000 or less. Not bad. I mean, we'd like to see that a little higher because, as I've been talking about with some of the new vehicles that are on the markets, with the Kona and the Niro and all these the Niro EV and all these other the Model 3, of course, the base. These are all slightly higher than that base MSRP number, and we're trying to determine if this is based on MSRP. But at least it's a start. It's an initial announcement in the budget, and if it actually goes down and gets passed and our current government remains in power, then we may see this to fruition. They're also offering that they want to work with auto manufacturers to secure voluntary zero-emission sales targets to ensure that vehicle supply meets increased demand, and as we know, the demand is slowly increasing. And they also want to contribute some funds to help expand the network of chargers. There is a workplace or a business component to this, which will allow businesses a full tax write-off of a vehicle purchase in the year that they put it in use to help encourage more fleet build-out and more enterprises and businesses getting into the EV or electrification game, including, in this case, it includes plug-in hybrids, so it does specify that, and there's a time frame between basically March 19th of this year and January 1st of 2024. And for the business year, the capital costs for eligible zero-emission passenger vehicles will be deductible up to a limit of $55,000 plus sales tax, so a little bit different for businesses. So all in all, this is not taken into effect yet, and I've had multiple conversations with people over the internet, on Twitter and stuff, for the last few days since this announcement came out on Tuesday of this week. I think it's a good idea. A lot of people don't like it because of the $45,000 cap. It doesn't include the Tesla base Model 3. It doesn't include a lot of other vehicles. It does include the Leaf, and it does include the initial the base model of the Leaf Plus. As an example, it would include the e-Golf. It would include the Ioniq. It would include some other vehicles as well. So it's not just, there are vehicles that you can purchase. And we believe it's a starting MSRP. It's not with all the options, but the details need to come out, and this thing needs to be passed, and we're a long way away from that. So for those that don't think it's a good idea, I would tend to disagree with you. I think, and this would be, if it does come to fruition, this would be our first ever national program, which means that EV adopters across Canada could actually take advantage of this, not just in a certain province or area geography. So that's good news, and at least what this thing is doing is it's creating some additional awareness of EVs, and it's getting people to start thinking about them again. So hopefully this will translate into some more adoption and some more energy into the EV landscape, because in Ontario it's kind of slowed down. The other provinces are doing well. The other two that have EV incentives and some ZEV mandates and things like that. So let's wait and see what happens. And if you are supportive of this, I would please write to your MPP and let them know that you're supportive of this. And if you have comments, let them know as well. Want to just jump across the pond for a sec, and there's a story that came out for a UK company called New Motion. They've done some amalgamations and purchases, and now they're one of the first companies to offer access to more than 100,000 public charging points, not just in the UK but across Europe. They've got a card, most charging companies have cards and apps, of course, as I think you folks know. And they have this card that enables you to purchase charging requirements from multiple types of vendors, not just their own. So NewMotion is a company that was acquired by Shell in 2017, and again, it's first to reach over 100,000 public charging points connected to its network. So some of those charging stations are their own proprietary or their own charging stations that they built, while others are available through roaming and other networks to total 28 countries, and these are partnering with over 200 roaming partners to give you a seamless type of charging network experience from an administrative viewpoint, so that you can have one card and access multiple vendors' products with that one single card, one single account, one single bill sort of approach. So that's excellent. They've actually really increased their card holders from 100,000 in 2017 to more than 170,000 now, and it seems to be increasing even more. They have their own chargers called the V2Xs, and then also they have an app called the Group Charge app, which are ways that you can access their chargers. So it's nice to see that. I think I talked about that late last year on a show about some of those things similar in the US, where you're seeing this amalgamation of charging providers that they will agree. Some of them, get bought. Some of them are still all separate companies, but they have this agreement in place that you would co-share the client's data, I guess, from that and sort out billing aspects, so that for us as consumers, we can go to a charging outlet with one card, one account, and have access to a charge when we need it. So nice to see this, and that just makes it easier for people when they've adopted an EV and got into the EV environment to work on, to utilize charging. So keep your eyes out for NewMotion. If there are any folks out there that have an account that have used these guys in the past, I'd love to hear some feedback on what your thought is. Thank you. Jump quickly to some Tesla news. A couple things came out from them after the Model Y reveal a week or so ago. Elon has stated that he's continuing to drive the delivery aspirations for the right-hand drive Model 3 units into the UK and by hopefully June timeframe, is according to what he's said a little while ago. He's saying it's about 3 to 6 months, and I know there are a lot of people in the UK that are chomping at the bit to get their Model 3. They're going to other countries to go see the cars, which is a nice thing you can do in the UK. You can jump across the channel and hop over on a cheap flight to a lot of different countries and see the Model 3s booting around and have a look at them. So Elon's saying they might arrive by June, but definitely before the end of summer. So good news for those waiting for Model 3. I expect there to be quite a large number of reservations outstanding in the UK, and I'd love to hear from owners when they get their Model 3, and let me know what you think, if the wait was worth it for you. And also on Tesla, I talked about some of the cutbacks they were doing with store closings and rejigging, and they've upped their pricing 3%, all that kind of stuff. Well, they've also in the last week or so discontinued the Model 3 mid-range battery pack version. And it kind of makes sense. It's probably the version that wasn't selling the most, and I think it was an intern step for them to capture some revenue before the base model was able to start to be delivered and shipped. And so it was a smart move on them, but it seems to be not really a big seller, and that's typical for a lot of vendors that have multiple trim lines, and that they'll see what tends to be more popular and then kind of cut that back a little bit just to make the manufacturing process even easier and more efficient. So the mid-range battery pack version is gone. If you did get one in time, that's great for you. But at least it makes it a little bit more simpler as far as the options go for the Model 3. One less trim to worry about when you're deciding that. And again, it's all for the sake of cost cutting, for the sake of margins, for the sake of efficiency for Tesla as they continue to ramp up Model 3 production. So you've heard me, folks, talk a lot about VW and the announcements and all the noise that they continue to make as far as where they want to go with electrification. They really want to be a huge supplier in this marketplace. Well, Kia has come out and said, hey, we want to be there too. We believe in electrification. We believe in having EVs down to the mass market and to as many geographies and into as many owners' hands as possible. So they're making some plays there in that game as well. And they've come out and said, you know what? we want to provide even more multiple long-range EVs to be able to sell customers. They have, of course, the Niro EV and the Soul EV, which the Soul EV I don't think will have any constraint issues from a delivery when it starts shipping soon, but the Niro EV, as we know, has been hit by some constraints, and I'll get to that in a sec. They've also unveiled a new dedicated all-electric platform that they want to start to build their EV projects on, and that's similar to the concept that Volkswagen's done with the MEB platform. So it's a smart move. Build a standard platform that you can build multiple types of vehicles on. That saves for cost and efficiencies and all that good stuff. And they want to kind of position themselves more for the mass market acceptance with affordable non-premium models. And I'll say that again, non-premium, because that's kind of what we've been seeing for the last year or so. A lot of the cars that I've covered and that you've seen covered in the news and at shows are mostly premium vehicles, right? The Mercedes, the Audis, the Porsches. They're all SUVs or larger sedans, larger vehicles, or even pickup trucks like from Rivian and big SUVs. But they're premium, right? They're more expensive vehicles. And to really encourage mass market adoption, you need to get vehicles under $30,000, like around $20,000 to $25,000. There's a lot of people, there's millions and millions of people that can't go out and buy a $35,000, $40,000, $45,000 or more vehicle. It's just not within their budget means. You get something down to $20,000 to $25,000, like what Volkswagen is positioning through some of the MEB products. That can really be a game changer. So Kia wants to do the same thing, and I say, great, bring it on. More is better, for sure. And so they don't want to just make a niche product. They want to electrify and get to the mass market. They want to open up and become more mainstream to customers. Now, as I mentioned earlier, the Niro EV is a great all-electric vehicle. It's, of course, my 2019 EV pick of the year. Unfortunately, though, they only built about 10,000 of these, or that's their game plan, is to roll out 10,000 of these from the South Korea plant to the global markets. And they've sold out already on these, which is not a surprise. I think they sold out like months ago, to be honest with you. So it's kind of disappointing that that's happened. I know that they got a big pent-up demand, and a lot of people are encouraged by what they see on the Niro EV, and they want to get one. Kia is claiming that they're having some issues with battery supply. That's not that surprising either, folks, as it's been basically a couple of vendor market from the needs for batteries up until the last year or so. And now that more and more manufacturers are throwing their hat into the ring and coming out with models, Audi, Mercedes, and so forth, BMW, etc., the strain on the battery supply manufacturers is starting to be seen a bit. Tesla was smart. They own their own supply chain, and that's how they wanted to go to business and wanted to go to market with the gigafactories. So that's a smart move on them. But the other guys need to go to the suppliers that are out there, the CATLs, the Samsungs, the SDIs, the LG Chems, the Panasonics, all these guys to get cells. And there's a lot of demand now. All of a sudden you had kind of a cool demand, and now you've got this. So they need to ramp up as well, and that's taking some time. So probably take about the next year, I would say year to 2 years, for all that to kind of simmer down to get into a more efficient state. So I do expect that we'll see many more new vehicles that come out, that get announced, that'll have initial constraint problems until the battery packs get sorted out. And probably more suppliers might even jump into the ring. But getting back to Kia's statement of where they want to be, I think that's great news. Kia's got some fantastic products that cover a broad spectrum of both price points and usability. So I think that it's a good move on Kia to try to step in and go after that mass market, because that's really, really, folks, in my opinion, where we'll see the EV market shine. We need to get the price points down. Not everybody can afford a Tesla. Not everybody can afford a Nissan Leaf. Not everybody can afford a Bolt, and so forth. And we need to get products that are lower than that price point to get more people involved in that. And I think that it can be done with the battery technology, and we need to get those prices down as well. So stay tuned and keep your eyes on Kia. One of the last concept cars to be unveiled at the Geneva Motor Show was from Kia, and it's called the Kia Imagine concept vehicle. Here's some pictures of it. They don't really say a lot. Well, I shouldn't say that. They have a quite lengthy press release that really doesn't say a lot, but that's typical marketing. But it's just, again, it's nice to see these concepts come out because it means that auto manufacturers are thinking. If they're not doing something in electrification, Kia is, we know that, but if they're not, they're at least thinking about it, and they're experimenting, and they're looking at designs, architectures, engineering, and so forth to kind of see where they can go and what their strategies might encompass. This vehicle is a four-door C-segment model, so I wouldn't say it's a SUV. I mean, it's got kind of an ID Cross stance to it, or a Model Y stance, so maybe you could say it's an SUV. I think that term is being misused nowadays. Even a crossover is a bit of a push. It's just a bigger sedan with a hatch by the looks of it. But it does have two trunks, so it does have a frunk, which is interesting because we're not seeing a lot of that come out from manufacturers. No other specs, but again, it's just nice to see Kia that is thinking about this, and they're playing around with some more concept. Keep your eye on this vehicle to see what actually ends up coming out into production. I don't expect we'll see this for another year to year and a half. Maybe there's no time frames, but it seems to be in a concept phase, and we'll see what Kia brings to the table out of this. Quick plug for Jaguar. I'm on their email list, and I got notification press release that Jaguar I-Pace here in Canada won 2 awards recently over the last couple of weeks. They've won the AJAC 2019 Canadian Green Utility of the Year Award. AJAC is the Automobile Journalists Association of Canada, if I have that all correct. And they've announced that the I-Pace wins the Utility of the Year, the Green Utility of the Year, and it also was won the Canadian Utility of the Year, so taking the green element out of it, just as an overall utility vehicle, it won that award. So congratulations to Jaguar. It does continue to do well in this landscape here in Canada. I mean, it's not flying off the shelves like Model 3s are, but again, Jaguar is a niche manufacturer. They only produce 120, 140,000 or so, 160,000 vehicles a year globally, so they're not trying to compete with anybody. They have their own thing, and they're quite happy with doing that. But keep your eyes on Jaguar, because my understanding is that they're going to be really jumping into the electrification game much sooner than I think a lot of folks anticipate that they would have. So keep your eye on them, and congratulations, Jaguar, on the awards. Some more spy shots coming out of the news. The Audi is continuing to produce more vehicles based on that e-Tron platform and based on the initial e-Tron that they have out there, which again is a gorgeous vehicle. They've come out with something called the Q2 e-Tron. So it's an all-electric vehicle, a smaller CUV, I wouldn't say SUV, more of a crossover or just a larger sedanish with a hatchback vehicle. Fully electric. I'm guessing it might have the same chassis or the same framework as the current e-Tron, but I don't have any specs on that. There's some speculation that they're aiming for a 310-mile range or 500-kilometer range per charge for this vehicle. I don't know if that'll happen. That seems a little ambitious. And Audi might only sell this vehicle, the Q2 e-Tron, in China. So we'll have to wait and see what happens because they might actually make a longer wheelbase version for the Chinese market. So let's wait and see. I hope not. This is a nice looking vehicle, and I think this could really capture a lot more market space for Audi in that lower end. People, it's hard to come up with 80, 90, $100,000, even 70 or more $1,000 for a vehicle. So this would be something that would be priced less than that. So keep your eyes on Audi, and if anybody hears anything more about the Q2 e-Tron, please let me know. I'd love to hear from you. Staying for a bit of the higher priced vehicles, I'll talk about Porsche and with the Taycan Cross Turismo that they've had, the concept that they've come out with. It's kind of a Taycan wagon by the looks of it, very long extended one. They're anticipating that this should come out in 2021. This would be Porsche's second all-electric vehicle from them, in addition to, of course, the Mission E. And it's supposed to, again, come out in sometime in 2020. And they're going to do a full reveal of this at the Frankfurt Motor Show this September, so keep your eyes on that. And they anticipate that this could go on sale as early as the end of this year, so that would be good. Apparently, there's a waiting list of 20,000 customers already that have put reservations, or at least said, hey, I want to spend some big money and I want to buy this car, the Taycan, from Porsche. So there's already a wait list for that vehicle. I would assume, as most of the EVs that are offered, this may come in multiple type of battery pack configurations, but the specs that they've come out with this Mission E-Cross Turismo is 440 kilowatts of power, or 600 horsepower for you folks that like those numbers, in excess of 500 kilometer driving range. Probably a WLTP figure, but they don't say, so I'll assume that it is, so it might be a little lower from an EPA. 400 kilometer charging in 15 minutes, so some form of fast charging based on 800 volt system voltage. I don't know how that equates to a battery pack size, so if somebody can put that in the comments or send me an email, I'm sure I'll get something. And of course, 100% battery electric to power it from 0 to 60 or 0 to 100 0 to 62 or 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in under 3.5 seconds. So that performance benchmark that Tesla set of around 3 seconds or so for 0 to 62 seems to be what a lot of other manufacturers are gunning for, trying to get vehicles as close to that. So no other specs, but keep your eyes on Porsche. And again, there's a lot of people that are standing up in line for this car, for the first all-electric to come out. So that's nice to see. I mean, spread the EVs out all over the marketplace. So keep your eye on them. Now, one company I haven't talked a lot about is Fisker, because they've kind of been in and out of the news, and I'm personally not really still sure how solid these guys are, but they seem to be moving forward, and they've come out with this teaser reveal for a long-range electric crossover. And they're claiming that it's going to be under $40,000 US. So let's say $39,995, right? Because that's typically how marketing works. It's an all-new planned vehicle that Fisker is talking about. The only thing we have is it might be somewhere around 300 miles of range with an 80 kilowatt hour battery pack. The key to this announcement and this teaser is the price point, that coming in under $40,000. So in terms of timeline, this could be, we could see these flying off shelves or slowly departing shelves in 2021 sometime, and they may even open reservations sometime before the end of this year. So let's wait and see what happens with Fisker on this car. And if anybody has more info, let me know about it. And my last story for today is just a hot off the press announcement that came in today just before I started recording this episode from GM. I was kind of waiting for that announcement to come out. They had a official press release that came out this morning that they announced a $300 million investment for a new production EV for the for the Orion Township plant in Michigan. This plant is scheduled to look at being the plant that produces this new electric vehicle from Chevrolet, based on the BEV3 platform or BEV3 platform, my understanding that GM has for this. Good thing about this investment is that it'll create 400 more jobs in this plant for this new line, where in addition to the Bolt, this vehicle will be built. An all-electric vehicle. Don't have any specs on it as far as, I mean, this image here is a speculative image. Maybe it's a teaser, or it's based on some of the existing things that are out there that people think it might happen. My opinion, GM is still a little slow out of the gate on this, but I'm glad to see that at least that they're planning on bringing another fully electrified vehicle to the market. The Bolt's done well for them. Where they've been able to produce it, where they've wanted to build these vehicles in the numbers they've wanted to and put them out there, they've sold relatively well. So keep your eyes on GM, and if anybody gets any more information on that as well, please let me know. So we'll have to wait and see from GM, but I'm glad that at least they're continuing to look at electrification in a more serious manner. All right, and that's it for this edition of the EV Revolution Show, episode 36, where my motto is educating minds one tailpipe at a time. That's what I try to do, folks. Hopefully it's working. Well, again, a quick reminder, we're going to do this on every show about the Fully Charged guys holding their event in June 7th to 9th in the UK at Silverstone. I'll be there. Tickets are now on sale. Go check out their website for that. And then also the Austin, Texas event, which will be held September 7th and 8th of this year down there by the Fully Charged guys. I'll be going down to that event as well. I'm looking forward to it and helping these guys doing some back-end stuff right now, so it's exciting to be part of that. So check out their website for full information, and I hope to see. I've got a few emails from viewers already that are saying they plan on going to some of these events, so I'm really looking to see folks when I get out there, shake some hands and share some stories. So I look forward to that. Beyond that, again, I want to always thank everybody for watching and for subscribing. And if you haven't subscribed, I'd love it if you could. Like it if you'd like to as well. And if you like what I do in the show, please tell others about the show so that they can have an opportunity or a chance to watch it and make their own decisions and see if they want to continue to watch my updates and my antics here in the EV revolution world. Also, humbly thank my Patreon supporters for that. I continue to be very blessed and humbled by your support. And I think that's it. I always have to double check all my notes as I have them scattered around for this episode. Everybody, please stay safe, and until the next show, we'll see you then. All right, bye-bye.